Decoding Ancient Engineering, the lost architectural puzzles of Petra, Jordan. For centuries, the rose city of Petra has held its breath. Hidden between towering cliffs in the deserts of Jordan, this ancient city seems frozen in time. Its walls glowing pink at sunrise, its shadows whispering stories of a forgotten people. Travelers stand in silence when they first see it, not because it is beautiful, but because it feels impossible. How did an ancient civilization, with no modern machines, no steel cranes, and no electricity, carve an entire city directly into solid rock? How did they control water in one of the driest places on Earth? And how did their knowledge vanish so completely that even today, engineers still debate how Petra was truly built? Join us as we journey deep into the heart of this stone miracle. Together, we will decode the lost engineering puzzles of Petra, one of the greatest architectural enigmas in human history. The Vanishing Act, Petra's rock-cut city. Petra is not just a collection of ruins. It is not a few temples or broken walls. Petra was an entire living city, sculpted directly from living rock. Unlike Rome or Athens, where stones were stacked one by one, Petra's buildings were carved from the mountain itself. The Nabateans did not build upward, they carved inward. The city appears suddenly after walking through the Sick, a narrow canyon stretching more than a kilometer long. Its cliffs rise over 80 meters high, twisting and bending like nature's hallway. Then, without warning, the canyon opens. And there it stands. The Treasury Al-Khazna. A 40-meter-high facade, perfectly symmetrical, filled with columns, statues, and fine details, all carved straight into sandstone. No bricks. No blocks. No mortar. Just rock. The question that shocks historians is simple. How did ancient workers reach the top? There are no visible ramps. No scaffolding holes. No clear tool marks that explain the precision. Yet the details are razor-sharp. The Nabateans somehow planned massive facades from top to bottom, carving downward, not upward, a method that required absolute precision. One mistake could destroy the entire structure. And somehow they rarely failed. Who were the Nabateans? The builders of Petra were the Nabateans, a desert people who emerged around the 4th century BCE. They were not a large empire like Rome. They were not famous warriors. They were traders. Their wealth came from controlling vital caravan routes that moved incense, spices, silk, and precious goods between Arabia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean world. But surviving in the desert required more than trade. It required mastery of nature. And that is where the true genius of Petra begins. Engineering the impossible, water in the desert. Petra sits in one of the driest regions on Earth. Rain is rare. Flash floods are deadly. Yet ancient Petra supported up to 30,000 people. How? Through one of the most advanced water systems of the ancient world. The Nabateans engineered rock-cut channels, clay pipelines, settling basins, hidden cisterns, pressure-controlled water flow. Rainwater from distant mountains was carefully collected and guided into the city. Inside the Sick itself, you can still see carved channels running along the walls, proof that water was deliberately controlled, not feared. They even used ceramic pipes with tight joints to prevent evaporation. In a desert, this system allowed Petra to flourish with gardens, fountains, baths, and pools, a green oasis surrounded by dead land. Roman engineers later admired it. Modern hydrologists still study it. And yet, no written manuals remain. The knowledge disappeared. Battling the desert's greatest enemy, flash floods. Water brought life, but uncontrolled water meant death. Flash floods in Petra's valleys could destroy everything within minutes. So the Nabateans did something extraordinary. They redirected entire floods. Massive dams were built at canyon entrances. Hidden tunnels diverted water away from living areas. Instead of fighting nature, they reshaped it. Modern engineers still struggle to manage flash floods. The Nabateans mastered them 2,000 years ago. The puzzle of precision. Look closely at Petra's facades. You will notice something strange. The lines are straight. The symmetry is nearly perfect. The proportions follow mathematical harmony. Yet the tools available were simple. Iron chisels, stone hammers, wooden wedges. No measuring lasers. No modern levels. So how did they maintain alignment across massive surfaces? Some historians believe they used string grids carved directly onto rock faces. Others think master planners marked reference points before carving began. But no definitive proof exists. Every explanation leads to another mystery. Carving from the top down. One of Petra's strangest engineering methods is its carving direction. The Nabateans carved from the top down. This prevented falling debris from damaging finished work below. But it created a huge problem. How did workers reach the top of cliffs that were 40 or even 50 meters high? No permanent staircases remain. Some scholars suggest temporary wooden scaffolding anchored into natural cracks. Others believe they carved temporary steps and later erased them. But again, no clear evidence survives. It is as if the builders wanted their methods to vanish. Monuments beyond the treasury. Petra is far more than one famous facade. The city contains over 800 carved monuments. Among them, the monastery Ad-Dair, even larger than the treasury. Royal tombs carved high into cliffs. The great temple complex. Amphitheaters sculpted directly into stone. The monastery alone required removing tens of thousands of tons of rock. And yet it stands isolated at the top of a mountain, reached by climbing over 800 steps. Why build something so massive so far away? Religion, ceremony, symbolism. Petra was not only practical, it was spiritual. A city designed to impress. Petra was meant to amaze visitors. Caravans approaching the city would travel through the dark, narrow Sick. Then suddenly light, color, grandeur. The city revealed itself like a theatrical performance. This was intentional. Architecture was used as power. Without armies, without walls, Petra controlled minds through wonder. Roman influence, but not Roman control. In 106 CE, Petra became part of the Roman Empire. The Romans added paved roads, colonnaded streets, classical decorations. But something interesting happened. They did not replace Nabatean systems. They kept the water engineering. They respected it, because it worked better than their own. The sudden decline. Petra did not fall through war. It faded. Trade routes shifted. Sea routes replaced caravans. Then earthquakes struck in 363 CE and later centuries. Water systems collapsed. Without water, the city could not survive. People slowly left. Sand reclaimed stone. Petra disappeared from the world's memory. For nearly 1,000 years. Rediscovery and modern confusion. In 1812, Swiss explorer Johann Ludwig Burckhardt rediscovered Petra. The world was stunned. How could such a city vanish? Even today, modern scanners, drones, and geological surveys continue to reveal new chambers beneath the rock. Petra is still not fully explored. Some believe entire sections remain buried. The city keeps its secrets. Why Petra still puzzles engineers today. Modern engineers admire Petra for one reason above all. Sustainability. The city worked in harmony with nature. It recycled water, controlled erosion, managed floods, used natural cooling, all without damaging the environment. In an age facing climate crisis, Petra feels strangely futuristic. Ancient, yet ahead of its time. The greatest mystery of all. Perhaps the greatest puzzle of Petra is not how it was built, but why its knowledge was never written down. No instruction manuals, no blueprints, no engineering texts, only stone. The Nabateans carved their intelligence into cliffs, not books. When they vanished, the knowledge vanished with them. Final reflection. Petra stands today as a silent teacher. It reminds us that intelligence does not belong to one era. That innovation does not require technology, only imagination. And that some of humanity's greatest achievements were created by hands we no longer remember. As the sun sets and the Rose City glows once more, Petra continues to ask us a question carved deep into its walls. If ancient people could build this without machines, what are we capable of today? And perhaps more importantly, what knowledge might our own world one day forget?